You're watching Camnet News. My name is Sharon Kalimbula. The story is making headlines on our desk tonight. Lawyers challenging President Edgar Lungu's eligibility are just hungry, says Joseph Malanji. And 2021 losers must be ready to concede defeat, Parliament told. UNZA suspends 8 students after riots. In international news, Uganda's Bobi Wine released 37 dead in protest over his arrest. And in sports news, SUSCON Invitational Golf Tournament kicks off in Lusaka. Join me shortly for the details.
Hello, Mother Zambia. I am your pastor on national matters. We look back and see in the history of this nation, Zambia is a great nation. When we as a nation are facing uncertainty and challenges that threaten our dignity, there are people around us that can help us think. And so on national matters, join me with His Honor, the former Vice President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Enoch Kavindere. May God bless Zambia.
Hello, have you heard about MUSICA? Do you know that you can advertise for as low as 150 kwacha for 30 seconds? Well, MUSICA is here. Advertise on MUSICA between 17 hours and 18 hours. Just tell us about the services that you offer and we'll gladly put you on the market. For more details, you can contact
+260 953 995099 +260 962 444 726 or +260 971 177 467.
MUSICA, allowing your business to grow.
Welcome to our desk. We look at the news in detail. A group of cadres from a named political party Friday morning sealed off Zambezi Portland in Ndola, threatening the legitimate owners of the company to gain access into the cement plant. The cadres have since assaulted Terence Findlay, one of the owners of the firm, and his vehicle damaged. Management officials at the firm under Gomil Litana are refusing to hand over the firm to Festo Musonda, who has been appointed as chairman of the company. On Thursday, the Supreme Court of Zambia delivered a ruling in which it dismissed an appeal lodged by Antonio Vetrigalia against the Court of Appeal judgment, which held that Finsbury Investment Limited is the majority shareholder of Zambezi Portland Cement. Delivering the 76-page ruling, the Deputy Chief Justice Michael Musonda, sitting with Mumba Malila State Council, and Justice Roida Kauma dismissed the appeal lodged by the ventriculars with cost. To this effect, the latest ruling means that Finsbury Investment Limited is the majority shareholder of Zambezi Portland Cement. This ruling finally brings to an end a protested litigation battle of shareholding in the Ndola-based cement manufacturing company that has dragged on in court for the past 12 years.
The chairman, who is the majority shareholder, Dr. Rajan Matan, was to send me on behalf of the board to bring a letter of mandate and authority to Festo Musonda. This letter is very clear. Anyone existing is contempt. Now, here we are. What we have found out is that we have the guts really not to respect the law. The highest court of the land, which I have at one time, when the Supreme Court ruled for me to do certain things, I did exactly that. And all of us do that. Now, if you want to invest, and you want to invest properly, you cannot disregard that. And our law this morning was merely to introduce him, to ensure the workers that the changes that take place so far is him being the captain of the ship.
When we went to the gate, we were met with some resistance. As you are aware, I think almost a week ago, we made a similar approach. The current management here appears to have employed thugs that are outside the gate who are throwing stones. And you can imagine that when we were there, one of the senior members in Ndola, Mr. Terence Findlay, happened also to be at the plant when he came. They came to throw stones to innocent people, and they have actually damaged, not only damaged his vehicle, but also assaulted him. We were all there. I think our car was in front. For some reason, they avoided our car, but this is very, very terrible situation that there is no one who has any legal mandate today other than myself to run the affairs of the company as a list partner. In short, the management that is there was only put in when the High Court ruling was in favor of the Ventriga families. As it is, the shareholders are two, Itarazo in receivership and Finsbury Investment. I think for the benefits of the employees at ZPC, I want to assure them that the majority shareholder means very, very well. You have nothing to worry about, but those people with the thuggery minds, they have everything to worry about. If there are people acting with the criminality in the company is always a social space. And we went there purely in peace. We didn't go with any thugs or anything, because we do not expect resistance. The pronouncements in terms of the court have been very, very clear for everyone to see. And also, we should leave the issue of the shareholders between the shareholders. Us as employees, our own responsibility is to make sure the sustainability of the company, we increase production, and also we ensure that the ultimate aim of my being appointed is to make sure that we regularize operations at that company in good faith.
A police post in Lusaka's Kamanga compound has been destroyed following a heavy downpour Thursday afternoon. Residents are now calling on government to urgently come to their aid and rebuild a police post in the nearest possible time. In an interview with Camnet TV, the residents have lamented that crime has been on the rise in the area following the government's decision to withdraw police officers from the station after residents vandalized the police post. Meanwhile, Monali, aspiring Member of Parliament Crispin Chinda, has called on all well-wishers to come on board and help the residents rebuild the police post in the shortest possible time.
The hope of having a police post restored in Lusaka's Kamanga compound has been shattered following heavy downpours experienced in the area Thursday afternoon. The heavy downpours, coupled with cats and dogs, have blown off the roof to the building, while the structure has been left in a deplorable state. Residents are now calling on government to come to their aid as crime levels have continued to be on the rise in the area.
Here again at Kamanga police post. The unfortunate happened yesterday, a natural calamity. Last week we were here with the community where we cleaned up and we had commenced renovations so that we can get the police back, the police officers back and security installed. But unfortunately yesterday the heavy rains took away the roof, the entire roof, as you can see, and now we are back to square one. So as a people and as a community leader, we are all concerned, because already last week we were talking about security risks, that at 19 hours people were closing themselves up because of the security. Whatever they left outside was being stolen, and for us, we are appealing to the authorities to come on board so that we can rebuild the police.
Police yalisatowerwa ichakonka pofuti umutenge walisayima mailo nempepo pamona amalata na maplanga so tole mboku tuteko utwafwilishe ema abana besikulu basambirira community yonse nga yakwata meeting omoyiso omumwino so tole mboku tuteko utwafwilishe ko mkwayi ifingita tukwetwa mboku wafwilishe kuti bese watwafwisha na police pamo ise mpetu muna Kamanga yikulu Obaspiu Obama bonse besa pano pa Kamanga omuntu ngafwa tulavulo kwa kutwala tikabye ndwa Kamanga kwa ba police tapalo
so mwene last week twaleba twambye okukirina okuwamya twalelo mbana kuli mumwe babuteko kwa mutu wafirisheko kwa tuyiwelelemo lero ekyabula ndageni mfula ya mairo umutenge onso wali pululuka wafumapo so tulelo mba kuli mwe buteko kwa kinga tumwa mwaumfu okulira kwesu mwatupalamina fwe bana benu kuno twachula crime yali kula sana nomba kuno kwa Kamanga.
In September of this year, residents of Kamanga compound vandalized the police post after one of the police officers shot and killed a resident following a dispute. This act forced government to withdraw its officers from the area, leaving the compound with no police presence. And in barely a week, Residents of Kamanga compound, headed by Munali aspiring Member of Parliament Crispin Chinda, mobilized to clean and renovate the police post with the hope of bringing the police post to life to curb crime in the area. The residents are hopeful that government will soon listen to their cries and come to their aid. Prudence Chota for Camnet TV News.
University Teaching Hospital UTH Special School Head Teacher Elina Mtolo has bemoaned the lack of transport at the school. Ms. Mtolo explains that the situation is hampering the movement of pupils at the institution. Ms. Mtolo adds that most pupils with special needs come from distant locations, which requires the use of transport every day. Details in this report.
In 2002, free basic education was made available to all Zambian children. However, children with special needs struggle to have access due to a combination of high transportation costs, inaccessibility within schools, a lack of special needs teachers, and able-bodied siblings being seen as more deserving of costly education. According to the 2015 UNICEF Zambian National Disability Survey, found that while a majority of children with special needs have accessed formal primary education in Zambia, persons with disabilities, rural dwellers, and female students all reported fewer years spent at school. In order to support government's aim of achieving the goal of becoming a prosperous and middle-income country in the year 2030, the corporate world continued to give back to society. Today, the two corporate communities, namely the Zambia Institute of Marketing and FNB Bank, made a donation of 30,000 kwacha to the University Teaching Hospital Special School. The donations were made in form of electronic device bought for the different abled children. And speaking at the event, Zambia Institute of Marketing President disclosed that the donation of tablets made will enable the provision of enhanced education for the children at the school.
We really feel honored and privileged to have been given an opportunity by the school, madam, to be part of your program and lend a hand in whatever small way we're going to do it. But we believe that this support that is coming through today will go a long way in enhancing our teachers' working environment as well as our learners' learning environment.
Meanwhile, the school head teacher extended her gratitude for the support rendered to the school. The head teacher, however, appealed to the corporate community to help the school with transport issues.
It is my appeal, the corporate world, to help us to come to our aid with the transport problem. We really have a transport problem. I'm emphasizing on this because our children, for them to get educated, they need to come to school. For them to be visited in their homes, they need the transport. So this is really a very big problem because we are not attending to the children the way we want to attend to them. So thank you so much for coming to our school today.
In showing their gratitude, the school-going children did some poetry.
Community, who am I to you? Taking me to school is like a burden, but here I am. I can read, I can write. All I need is your support. Disability is not inability.
Roderick Mbalazi, a grade 9, spoke on behalf of others.
So I just want to thank the people who have come to give us help in the little way that you have given us, but in God's eyes, it is very big. Because it is not easy for people to look at people with disabilities the same way you have done. So we thank you very much, and may this help not stop here, take it to other schools. Even as we have a bigger challenge of transport at this school, if God will bless you, you can render help again.
Miriam Kemba, reporting for Camnet TV News in Lusaka.
In other news, the University of Zambia management has suspended 8 students from the institution following riotous behavior that took place on the night of Tuesday, 17th November 2020. The university management has also taken administrative action against members of staff who abrogated the directive not to allow students who had not fully paid to sit for examinations. The 8 students have been identified as Frank Chinyama, Samuel Daka, Justin Ngosa, Boyd Simokoko, all from the School of Humanities and Social Sciences. Others include Chanda Chongo and Langford Mbewe, all from the School of Education, while Mwate Simpemba and Abraham Chilubaila are from the School of Natural Sciences. The university management say it is saddened by such riotous behavior, as this goes against the UNZA standards for and will not condone. This is contained in a statement made available to the media by UNZA Acting Head Communications and Marketing Marjorie Nkamba. In other news, Kwacha Member of Parliament, who is also Foreign Affairs Minister, Joseph Malanji, has accused lawyers questioning President Edgar Lungu's eligibility of being poor. Mr. Malanji, who has nicknamed himself as Bonanza, claims that President Edgar Lungu has not served 2 terms as being alleged by some politicians and lawyers. Let's get the details in this report.
Member of Parliament and Foreign Affairs Minister Joseph Malanji has accused lawyers questioning President Edgar Lungu's eligibility as being poor and hungry and live in family houses.
Valungu mtakojela wakuisha next year 5 years, nishibateka 6 years. Ushekwe na kuti mwaewa zinaka kwa 2 terms. Ambale geni miewe, awawe nebale ya mkuimba, atiyo ineni neloya mkalamba, ala gatuwa mwewe fishi kapito bali. Amuchisungu batila ati, say the truth. Kachakutira mwamuna abe neba loya wale imatiyo ineni ninkala katimba loya mwine uwaisho unga translate constitution. Ala linsa la badila awa loya wonga chakutira mwakonga wino wekala munga ndayalukwa ina ingongole ni fulu badibi zetu walelola ite 4 million na tumukalibila ilani soka chetelo mwanisho kana ukwato kwa kuba 5 kolongo na ubuka asinga lelo chala bachani.
He urges the people of Kitwe not to pay attention to other leaders constantly knocking on State House doors as if they are knocking on a toilet door. Meanwhile, Mr. Malanji had this to say about Rwandan President Paul Kagame.
Abalungu twakonganya kumwilatira pe okuwakumwe ngamwana kuli bakagame Rwanda bisere yo bakagame kuja ushe bakagame tawatondomba ya dio election iyo abantu bakonka mutishinka Rwanda pro shintu babi okutira kateka agekala nefinefi nomanga chakutira mwalamu na abantu abalekwa yakuya mukongosha pa State House kwatina kati muntu alekongosha muchimusu kweteta ilia mwishirati barikamu.
Miriam Kemba reporting for Camnet TV News in Lusaka.
Interesting views there over President Edgar Lungu's eligibility. We will be tracking different opinions on this topic as we head towards the general elections. You're watching Camnet News. Just now we take a break. Still to come other interesting stories. Stay with us.
And why do you look so pale and busy scratching yourself?
Malamanji, you know my skin is very sensitive. I've tried all the skin products and nothing seems to work.
Have you tried Oracle Pure Glycerin?
Oracle Pure Glycerin? What's that?
Just give me a minute.
Oracle Pure Glycerin gives your skin a youthful and healthy glow.
Ish, you're glowing. Don't tell me.
Yes!
I already know the secrets.
Oracle Pure Glycerin!
Try Oracle Pure Glycerin for that perfect skin.
Stay home, stay safe. Times have changed. With the advent of the coronavirus, Lusaka Water Supply and Sanitation Company would like to advise its esteemed customers to avoid visiting crowded places. You don't have to move to pay your water bill. You can do it in the convenience of your home. You can pay your water bills through Zanaco Zapit, Stanbic Bank, Standard Chartered Bank, and FNB. You can also use Airtel, MTN, and Zamtel Kwacha mobile money transfer services. For any inquiries to report a fault, please contact our customer service on +260 211 251 571, +260 975 618 618, and toll-free line 5957, Zamtel only. You can also simply email customer service at lwsc.com. This public announcement is brought to you by the Lusaka Water Supply and Sanitation Company. Water is life. Sanitation is health.
Join Pastor Victoria and Moses Chilua, the Healing Word Ministries International.
Starting on the 3rd to 6th December 2020.
Dr. Francis Miles from the USA returns to Zambia for a conference on issuing restraining orders.
Because you see, God responds to your revelation. So if you approach God as the healer, He heals you. If you approach Him as your shepherd, He will touch your soul. But if you approach Him judicially, He will show you He's the cause.
Venue, the Healing Word Ministries International in Ibex Hill. Time,
17 hours to 19 hours from Thursday to Saturday.
And on Sunday from 09 hours to 11 hours. For more details, call +260 962 965 883. You do not want to miss this conference this time.
Thanks for staying with us up until now. We continue with the news. Kabompo Member of Parliament Ambrose Lufuma is saddened by some sentiments coming from some political stakeholders that they will not concede defeat should they lose the 2021 general elections. Speaking in Parliament Friday morning, Mr. Lufuma says politicians must be ready to hand over power to anyone who emerges victorious. But Vice President Inongewina has cautioned leaders from both the ruling Patriotic Front and the opposition against issuing statements that can bring about civil strife in the country. Details in this.
Zambia will be going to the polls in 2021 to choose new leaders. Zambians will be voting for a president, members of parliament, mayors, and councillors. However, some stakeholders are concerned with the statements being issued by leaders from certain political parties that they will not consider defeat if it so happened that they lost the elections. Kabompo Member of Parliament Ambrose Lufuma in Parliament says every political party must be ready to consider defeat provided a level playing field is guaranteed.
Your Honor, the Vice President, the Zambian public are becoming increasingly agitated, anxious, and to some extent jittery concerning some of the pronouncements being made by cabinet ministers in your administration concerning next year's elections, 2021 elections, in that they are claiming next year's 2021 elections will be a war, and that they are not prepared, that is, PF is not prepared whatsoever to hand over power to anybody. Now that is in public domain, Mr. Speaker. That is in public domain.
Let's have some order. Ask your question.
Considering that Zambia is a peaceful nation and is a democratic nation, such irresponsible pronouncements are very, very dangerous and are bound to cause havoc in this country.
Mr. Lufuma asks whether this is the reason why heavy military equipment has been procured by the Zambian government.
Could this be the reason why why your government is stockpiling military hardware and munitions in preparation for the perceived war and inability to hand over power to the next government? I thank you.
Vice President Inongewina, on the other hand, says anyone found to be issuing such statements will be dealt with accordingly.
The issue of alarming statements should not come from leaders, whether on this side or on UPND side, because this country will face conflicts if we leaders do not tame our tongues. If on this side a member has expressed those sentiments of a war, that member will be asked to retract such statements, because we do not condone violence in PF and in this country. We are holding the power and we are running the state, so we cannot afford to have conflicts and disrupt peace in the country. On this side, I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
In the meantime, the police have been engaged in routine crowd control management. Kalan Muchima reporting for Camnet News in Lusaka.
Meanwhile, Vice President Inongewina says the process that compels ex-ministers to pay back the money they owe the state will take time to be completed. Vice President has told Parliament that the amount of money asked by the Constitutional Court was not a wholesome figure, considering that the ministers worked during the period in question. In July 2020, the Constitutional Court concluded that 63 ministers and deputy ministers who allegedly illegally overstayed in office in 2016 after Parliament was dissolved will collectively pay 4.7 million kwacha. Attorney General Likando Kalaluka in November 2019 asked the Constitutional Court to direct the Registrar of the Constitutional Court to assess the amount of money that the ex-ministers are required to pay back as directed by the court. This was after the court declined to reopen its judgment of August 8, 2016, in which it directed that ministers should pay back the allowances and the salaries they illegally acquired when they remained in office.
Mr. Speaker, according to the ruling of the court, the ministers are supposed to pay, but the process takes long because the amounts have to be determined on individual basis. It's not a wholesome figure that should be paid by the ministers because they worked during that time, and the process of ascertaining how much each minister has to pay is still being worked on. I thank you, sir.
Civil Society Scaling Up Nutrition Alliance Country Coordinator Matthews Moro has commended Parliament for passing the Food and Nutrition Bill of 2020 into law, which is aimed at providing for the implementation of the national food and nutrition programs in Zambia. Mr. Moro has disclosed that the Act will help in strengthening the coordination mandate of the National Food and Nutrition Commission, as it has provisions such as having the coordinating committee, which will promote the right to food, among other functions. He reiterates that the Act will further strengthen food and nutrition coordination in Zambia, as all nutrition groups will have to be registered with the Commission, which is mandated to inspect food premises and prevent unsafe and harmful food from being served to the public. He adds that with this new law in place, the government will, in times of drought or floods, be required to provide food that meets the dietary needs of the affected people.
I'd like to commend Parliament for passing the Food and Nutrition Bill. So this has been a bill that has taken over 6 years of just the back and forth between ministries and cabinet. But we're happy that now it has finally been passed into an act. And, just looking at the provisions of this act, it's going to bring a lot of changes in as far as food and nutrition is concerned in Zambia. The Act provides for a committee that will promote the right to food, which means that, in times of droughts and floods, government has no choice but to provide foods that meet the dietary needs of the people. And also it just strengthens the National Food and Nutrition Commission's role in just coordinating nutrition activities in the country. It is a hope that, with this bill passing into an act, government would adequately fund the National Food and Nutrition Commission. Over the years, the National Food and Nutrition Commission has been one struggling institution, as poor funding has just limited coordinating capacity. But now with this particular bill, we expect government to adequately fund the National Food and Nutrition Commission so that they can execute their role of reducing all forms of malnutrition in Zambia.
The Ministry of Tourism and Arts Permanent Secretary Dr. Auxila Ponga has called for support from the United Nations Development Programme UNDP to help the sector in the post-COVID-19 recovery process. Speaking during a meeting at the ministry's headquarters Friday morning, when UNDP country representative Lionel Lawrence paid a courtesy call on her, the PS says her institution has come up with a comprehensive plan of developing linkages between the southern and northern tourism circuit to increase the length of stay for visiting tourists. Dr. Ponga says tourism is labor intensive and if well supported creates a greater potential for youth employment and poverty alleviation. And Mr. Lawrence says UNDP stands ready to offer the much-needed technical support as most tourism activities are in line with the agency's mandate. He said his organization has a huge interest in poverty alleviation for youths and women, and that if these get jobs in the tourism sector would mark positive development.
At the moment, we have a challenge of how do we attract Zambians to become tourists in their own country. With the education sector, it's easier to carry young people into parks, to give them a tour. It's part of the education. What about for the working class? So we're trying to, and I know that the ministry was quite advanced at some stage in seeing how each civil servant can have a certain amount of money deducted from their salary at the pay point, so that over a period of 3 years they would have accumulated enough money to allow them to visit the country they call their own and appreciate the heritage that they have, both in terms of natural endowment, but as I said, also in culture. Because some of us are limited to the places where we are born and bred, or the places where we work, and do not even get to know what goes on.
Zambia is such an extraordinary country, and the potential for tourism, I think, is obvious. At the same time, there is much more that can be done so that this sector can create value, create jobs for local people and for Zambians. So I'm very pleased to hear this discussion on how your ministry can help to enhance the domestic market. Zambians as operators, Zambians as tourists, and leverage that. A few days back we had a conversation with the World Trade Organization, which by the way is very interested to partner in supporting you with the COVID assessment, but also to look at recovery interventions. And they were telling us that globally the tourism sector has plunged by 80%. Because people are not flying, because borders are closed, because lockdowns in many countries have affected people, but maybe more importantly, the fear factor. People are not willing to travel the way they were willing before COVID.
Now, as the country marks World Children's Day, young people have recommended that Zambia adopts legislation and child protective systems that promote and protect their rights of children and ensure that their voices are always taken into account in all matters affecting their lives. Presenting recommendations of the 2020 Young Voices Survey, children called for an end towards violence against children by addressing the root cause of violence against children and transform social norms. The young people also called on government to increase awareness on the rights of the child. This year's World Children's Day has been marked under the theme Reimagining the Future. Details in this report.
World Children's Day was first established in 1954 as Universal Children's Day and is celebrated on the 20th of November each year to promote international togetherness, awareness among children worldwide, and improving children's welfare. It is a time to celebrate
implement and strengthen existing policies and legislation, including law reforms where needed. So there are law reforms that the government needs to consider, those that are actually in line with children's rights, so that as they are, strengthened, the children's rights also are respected and strengthened.
UNICEF country representative Mauti Gandhi stressed that the COVID-19 pandemic risks becoming a lasting crisis. She noted that the COVID-19 is already negatively impacting on children's rights, such as the right to education, thus the need to exhibit collective responsibility in curtailing the virus.
Without urgent action, COVID-19, which has affected all of us, irrespective of age, irrespective of where we're from, it risks becoming a child rights crisis. The costs of the pandemic for children are immediate, and you would know this because it has affected your life. And the danger is that this could then persist and impact the rest of your lives and the rest of our lives. As we talked a little bit with our colleagues today, I've already mentioned, the COVID-19 pandemic has severely disrupted the lives of children. It has interrupted their learning, it has heavily impacted their safety, their well-being, and their rights. And in short, we are sitting here today at the risk of losing all the gains we've made for children over the last few years because of the pandemic.
Ministry of General Education Director Cham Karimbika, who represented the Permanent Secretary Mr. Jobix Kalumba, says the ministry acknowledges the various recommendations made by the children and that efforts will be made to implement them.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear children, the Ministry of General Education is happy to receive the recommendations from the Young Voices Survey, a first study of its kind in Africa. As a ministry, we appreciate the results of this Young Voices Survey. The survey was conducted with the University of Zambia and several children.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
You're watching Camnet News. We take another set of commercials, but still to come is international and sports news. Stay with us.
From time immemorial, we have had different types of lighting options, from those that can burn down our investments in minutes to those that dig holes in our pockets due to constant replacement and huge consumption of our ZESCO units. Savenda Electric introduces the new and advanced electric bulb with cutting-edge technology of LED that has low power consumption, gives out bright white light, and lasts up to 25,000 hours. Savenda Electric manufactures all types of LED light, like plastic LED fluorescent tubes, down lights, ceiling lights, outdoor fittings, and solar street lights made to customer specifications. Let's live on the bright side of life by choosing the wide range of Savenda electric lighting solutions that are available in all leading stores and supermarkets countrywide. For orders, call 0962-642-490 or email jnbunda@savenda.com or pchabula@savenda.com.
Take control of your tax planning. Avoid penalties and interest. Returns and payments due by the 10th of the month for declarations of the previous month's transactions are pay as you earn and skills development levy. Returns and payments due by the 14th of the month are turnover tax, withholding tax, mineral royalty tax, tourism levy, gaming and baiting, presumptive tax. Returns and payments for all withholding VAT agents is the 16th of the month. Returns and payments for all VAT registered suppliers is the 18th of the month. Submit the returns and make payments on or before the respective due dates to avoid penalties on the late submission of returns and payments of taxes. Further, note that VAT tax invoices for all business-to-business and business-to-government transactions must bear the tip-in of the buyer without fail. Zambia Revenue Authority. My tax, your tax, our destiny.
Hello, Mother Zambia. I am your pastor. On national matters, we look back and see in the history of this nation, Zambia is a great nation. When we as a nation are facing uncertainty and challenges that threaten our dignity. There are people around us that can help us think. And so on national matters, join me with His Honor, the former Vice President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Enoch Kavindere. May God bless Zambia.
Hello, have you heard about MSICA? Do you know that you can advertise for as low as 150 kwacha for 30 seconds? Well, MSICA is here. Advertise on MSICA between 17 hours and 18 hours. Just tell us about the services that you offer and we'll gladly put you on the market. For more details, you can contact
+260 953 995099 +260 962 444 726 or +260 971 177 467.
MSICA, allowing your business to grow.
Thanks for staying on. We now look at international news. Uganda's presidential candidate, Bobi Wine, has been released on bail, local media reported, as police say the doctor in clashes triggered by his arrest earlier this week hit 37. Wine, who was charged with actions likely to spread the novel coronavirus, is expected to appear back in court on December 18, 2020. The Daily Monitor reported on Friday. The 38-year-old pop star and politician, whose real name is Robert Kyangulanyi, was arrested on Wednesday while campaigning in eastern Uganda for the January 14th general elections. He was charged with holding mass rallies in violation of restrictions on the gathering imposed by the government to curb the spread of COVID-19. Earlier on Friday, authorities deployed the military across capital Kampala and surrounding areas to help police disperse protesters. The security forces have arrested hundreds and used live bullets, tear gas and water cannons in an effort to quell the unrest. Uganda, a nation of 42 million people, is due to hold presidential and parliamentary elections on January 14th, with Wine emerging as a serious threat to veteran President Yoweri Museveni, 76, who aims to extend his rule to at least 40 years. We now look at sports news. In sports news, the SUSCON Invitational Golf Tournament has teed off in Lusaka's at the lovely Bonanza Golf Club. The tournament is being held in conjunction with the Professional Golfers Association of Zambia. The golf tournament has also seen a wide range of juniors, amateurs and professional golfers who took part in the year-end event that opened doors to the world by having a Malawan International. The tournament is expected to end this Sunday. Details in this report.
The SUSCON Invitational teed off this week in partnership with the Professional Golfers Association of Zambia at the beautiful 18-hole Bonanza Golf Club with the on-screen view of the lovely par 5 18th green. The tournament saw various sponsors coming on board to create a spectacular finish for the year. With it were juniors, amateurs, and professionals that are battling it out for the top spot at the year-end event. The field welcomed for the first time an international player who is currently tied with a Zambian, now turned professional, Gabriel Chivale, who are both holding the lead at 4 under par. We managed to catch up with Zambia's top-ranked professional after having 7 birdies and an eagle to finish off with a 2 under par round.
I had a pretty topsy-turvy round. I felt I should have played or scored much better. I had, I think, about 7 birdies and an eagle. That should have been at least 7 to 9 under, and I ended up shooting 2 under because I made 7 drop shots. So I wasn't too pleased with that, but I know it's a little bit of mental rust, but we'll see what we can do going forward. The organization has been good so far. I think we've had an outstanding show of the sponsor groups and the sponsors coming on board to support this event. A good turnout of players competing in the event, so it's good to see more of the corporate world and just individual sponsors coming to the floor to support the cause of developing golf in Zambia.
Well, this is a year-end tournament, and going out in a bang like this, what are we hoping for next year? How big are we looking for this thing to get?
Yeah, I think we've been progressing every tournament, so we'd like to do the same thing going into the next year. Hopefully we can have a title sponsor for the entire year, and that will set us off on a good course, and that will at least help us to plan our schedule for the entire year and guarantee the players that they'll be having events on a consistent basis.
Michael Chiluba reporting for Camnet TV Sports News in Lusaka.
That note brings us to the end of our news, but let's look at the headlines once again. Lawyers challenging President Edgar Lungu's eligibility are just hungry, says Joseph Malanji. 2021 losers must be ready to concede defeat, Parliament told. And UNZA suspends 8 students after riots. In sports news, Uganda's Bobi Wine released, 37 dead in protest over his arrest. And in sports news, SUSCON Invitational Golf Tournament kicks off in Lusaka. We now look at the Camnet verse for the day, and it's coming from Hebrews 13 verse 5, and it reads, "Your life should be free from the love of money. Be satisfied with what you have, for he himself has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you." Thank you so much for staying with us. My name is Sharon Kalimbula. Enjoy watching the rest of the programming. This is Camnet TV, not just another channel.